Hey everyone, Brent Irvin here. Dave has asked me to jump on here and recount the story of the secret hidden Elvis dressing room at the Las Vegas Hilton.
Hey kids, and welcome back to That Escalated Quickly. Something I've always been wanting to do is share some of these road stories, and here we are. Episode 1, literally yesterday, about Neil, had a lot of positive feedback, so here we go with number 2.
This would have been around 2007 for the National Finals Rodeo, which they have there every December, and they bring in major country artists to come to town, do major concerts.
So we're out in Vegas playing this string of shows. Brent was the bass player and I was on drums, of course. A little backstory on Brent and I. Everybody on the bus would do their own thing after a show, but he and I always listened to music and we were just geeks about it. He could tell you who the bass player was of the Muppets. And we did nothing but listen to music. So when we got to the Hilton, we already knew it had a very rich history in music, but especially to Elvis.
We were in town doing a showcase at the Thomas Mack Center and wound up at the Hilton, the Las Vegas Hilton, and ran into Two Foot Fred.
We run into Two Foot Fred, who was touring with Big and Rich at the time, and he was a really good friend, and he invites us out to the show that night.
Fred was gracious enough to invite us to the Big and Rich show that night. After the show, we're in the main Elvis dressing room with John and Kenny from Big and Rich and their entourage and all of our guys.
We're hanging out in the original Elvis dressing room. We're having a good time. Nothing bad going on that you know about anyway. When you would leave the party and would have to go to the bathroom, you would usually have an escort as a security guard or somebody to take you back and forth just to make sure that you weren't, stealing anything off the wall or anything. And Brent walks over to me and gives me the old, psst, 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 Dave, come here. I was unaware of this secret room, but of course Brent knew, being the history buff that he is in music. We walked down the hall, and without this security guard, by the way, we weren't supposed to be out there. He's like, I think I found it. I think I found it. Follow me, follow me. So Brent leads me down the hallway, and we go off an adjacent hallway, just like going straight to the right. And I noticed the entire wall curved. We get to this doorway, and he jiggles on the handle, and it's unlocked. And he's like, come in, come in. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to get arrested. And we walk into this room, and when we walked in, I remember the door opening, and the whole room was curved. Now, if you look at that stage from the Hilton, the front of the stage is curved. I wasn't thinking this at the time. I just thought, wow, that's weird that they have the wall curved like that. Very, very small room.
Really small. Real low ceiling.
Low ceiling, wasn't very tall. Well, that's because it's under the stage.
This little room held, maybe 8 people at most.
A small bar. And I noticed curtains on the right side of the room and the left side of the room. And there were 2 staircases. One going this way, one going that way. But it went nowhere. It was flat. At the time, I didn't know that we were under the stage, but that's where we were. We hung out for about 5 or 10 more seconds, and I was like, yo, Brent, we got to get out of here. We're going to be in trouble. On the way back to the party, or right when we got to the original Elvis dressing room, there was a security guard asking if we needed help anything.
A security guard backstage named CJ. CJ is like, hey, which one of these was Elvis's original dressing room? And he's like, well, technically, you are in Elvis's original dressing room.
Brent proceeded to ask him, yeah, can you tell us more about this place?
Come down the hall, I'll show you something really cool. So Dave and I follow CJ down the hall.
This fella took us right back to where we were standing. The entire time we're walking down the hallway that we had just come from that he didn't know about. Took us down the hallway, unlocked all these doors.
Pulls out his keys, opens up a door, and goes into another hallway.
And the entire time, Brent's behind me going, dude, I told you.
And pulls out his keys, opens up another door.
I was like, dude, shut up, you're going to get us in trouble. We walked in, and he says, gentlemen, this is the secret Elvis dressing room.
There is the private Elvis bar.
In that thing twice. So yes, we were there, and yes, it exists.
Later find out that there's been some dispute if that room actually exists, and it does. We were in there.
So yes, it exists.
We were in there.
We were there.
At the time, it was before, the iPhone camera phones. I took a couple pictures with a flip phone, but, they didn't really turn out.
Now, as far as all the rumors of all the things that's went on in that room and the people that's been in that room, I have no idea, of course.
Really cool experience, because during that time, there was not much access to any of those areas by the general public, and we got to see those. I wish I had the pictures just to, show what it looks like in there, but just a real small room, a bar, some, I believe there was some, woven chairs, bar stools, maybe 3 or 4 of those. Just a really cool experience. Back during those days, it was, we were moving so fast that, but getting to experience something like that was just, especially for an Elvis fan like myself, was just a once in a lifetime opportunity.
It's pretty neat, we got to do some things that most people didn't do.
And getting to see the whole backstage area from, the movie That's the Way It Is that Elvis did, documenting his return to the stage.
But that's my story. That's Brent and I's story from that night at the Hilton. And out of all the wild Vegas stories I have that I can tell on the internet, this is one of them. So we're in this room, and he's telling us a few stories about the room, and all PG rated, of course. I asked him about the curtains and the staircases, and apparently those stairs led to these trap doors that would move. The way I was explained at the end of the show, fog would take over the stage and Elvis would disappear in the fog, and nobody knew that the stage opened up and he would either go down this staircase or this staircase and be in his own private little room. I looked in the stairs and there was nothing but cables and boxes. It looks like a place that they were using it for storage. And from what I understand, the trap doors have been sealed over so that nobody can use them anymore.
CJ's like, hey, let me show you something else. Opens up another dressing room that's unmarked. And at the time, Barry Manilow was doing a residency there in Vegas. He's been doing it there for years. So he opens up the door. It's Barry's dressing room. And there's racks of these, silk shirts in every color, these coats that are just incredible. A big row of shoes, like, all these handmade Italian shoes. We get to hang in Barry's dressing room for a little bit. A really cool experience. Back during that time, that was before YouTube was really big, and back before people had access to those sorts of areas. And now there's all kinds of videos on YouTube of those backstage areas at the Las Vegas Hilton. It was originally the International Hotel back when Elvis was in residency there back in the 70s. Later became the Las Vegas Hilton. I think now it's called the Westgate Resort. Everyone have a great 2025. To our California friends, our hearts are with you.
That's our story. Thanks for watching another episode of Rock and Roll Stories that you've never heard. And we'll have another one soon. Happy birthday, Big E.